What's going on, guys? It's your boy Carlos, the host of the Just Fans podcast. I'm joined here by the man who doesn't age. He's just like Wolverine. Rios, let him know what's up, Rios.
Morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending what time zone you're in, or good evening.
Wow. It's 11 a.m. here in Houston. You already got a beer in your hand, sir.
I mean, it's five somewhere.
Right.
Hey, I'm American Strong Uncle for a reason.
That's true. You are America's drunk uncle for a reason. And of course, we got the legend himself. Without him, a lot of this wouldn't be possible. Dan the Man Harris from Let's Talk Sports. Dan, let him know what's up, man. How's it going?
Guys, thanks for having me. And Brios, if it makes you feel better, it's 5 p.m. here, so
I told you it's five
that's
somewhere.
acceptable.
He had to
All I
look. He
need.
looked at his watch. He's like, "Ah, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I'm about to get this beer."
That's all I need.
Yeah, man. Man, how are you guys doing this morning, Rios? To start off with you, since I see that you're already drinking. How's it going over there?
Well, woke up early to do some yard work, and I'm exhausted. So I've
You
earned this beer.
okay? First of all, the fact that you actually did some sort of work that baffles me.
Me too.
I know, right?
Who have I become?
Right. What are you? We got our first comment here from Mr. First Down. Says Rios looks sad. Is it his ex or is it because I'm Dan's favorite? Wow.
First of all, who lied to you, sir?
Yeah.
You're no one's favorite.
Yeah. Alan Perales said, "Do the nurses smuggle beer into your room, Rios?"
They do.
Nice. And Botkin's throwing shots already. One man is a legend. One man is a drunk. One is just Carlos. I'll take that. I like just being me. Nick Botkins, everybody.
I'll,
Botkins from the
Rackets.
Botkins Show. Dad, how's
I'll
your day
take
going,
that as
man?
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. Just casual so far, and been looking forward to this. Been too long.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. I think the last time I had you, I did like a small interview with you for like a few minutes outside the doctor's office because I had like a doctor's appointment that day. And it was quite interesting. We got to know a little bit more about Dan and all that. But I'm glad we got to do it. And I'm glad that we're able to do more of these with you, man. Like I love the fact that we're able to get you on here and there whenever we have time, of course, man. So let's get started with a little bit of football. How I know you're a big Jets fans for some reason. How do you feel like your Jets are going to do this year now with Aaron Rodgers on there?
Yeah, probably the best I felt going into the season as a Jets fan, but that wouldn't be hard. Let's be honest. Yeah, way I see it is, I know some people look at it as, oh, you get Aaron Rodgers with pressures on the Jets. I kind of disagree, just because we're the Jets at the end of the day. So, no matter how it ends up, I'm pretty loose. It's got to be better than last year because that defense was elite, and just the quarterback play weren't great. You know how that is, having
Oh yeah,
Davis
Oh yeah.
Mills as your quarterback for the last couple of years. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
exactly. Mr. First Down commented, "Come on, Reels, you know you love me." Bodkins replied with, "Nobody loves you, Sam." And which I happen to agree with. Nobody does love Sam. We just kind of keep him around.
He's a
And
slump buster.
yeah, he's a slump buster. And he wrote, and then Mr. Sam wrote, "We both know that's not true, Nick." And of course, Botkins replied with, "Super Bowl or bust for Jets. Go get D Hop." Do you, Dan? So, would you like to have D Hop? Now, I know this kind of sounds like an open-ended question here, but would you like to have D Hop in your with the Jets?
I feel as, do we need him? Maybe not. We'd be fine without him, but I'd rather have him than not have him. It opens up more possibilities. I do feel like if they could get him, I know he's not a slot guy per se, but with his route run and have him in the slot with Elijah Moore going out, and you can move him around as well. I think there's an opportunity there rather than relying on Hardman playing in the slot a little bit more. But I don't know how the money would. They've definitely got money available, but the issue is Rodgers ain't going to keep being paid 100 million next
Right.
year and a couple this year, so that has to be moved around, and then Quinn rooms. But I do think it's a possibility. I do feel like he wants a true contender. Does he view the Jets as that? If I was him, even if I have to take less, I look at the Chiefs, try and make that happen. Because
Mhm.
ring, I think he deserves a ring for his legacy. You guys know
Mhm.
that
Oh,
more
yeah.
than I do. So that's what I would do, even if he has to take 5 to 8 million for the Chiefs. But
Yeah.
I love him in New York, to be
Oh,
honest.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody would like him. So this brings a question that Botkins just wrote. Who wouldn't want D Hop? I can tell you the Cardinals, the Titans right now. The Texans haven't reached out to him, so there's a few teams that don't want him right now. But
There's a lot
and then
of mostly salary demands.
it's
It's
just
not,
mostly salary, yeah.
yeah.
Not because of his ability or anything. So Allen wrote, he would be more of a luxury for the Jets than a necessity. And do you agree with that, Dan? More of a luxury than a necessity?
Yeah.
He would be a luxury, but at the end of the day, I would say good receivers are a necessity as well. And
Yeah.
on a side note, I can't believe I've just heard a Cowboys fan speak about luxury over necessity.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Allen.
Bang, bang.
Shots fired at Allen. Exactly. Then we got Scott Cobe that wrote, listen, no offense to all you B-rated people in the chat, but Just Fans is now getting it right with Dan today and me Saturday night. So Botkins and Mr. First Down, you guys are the B squad. And then Sam replied with, your arthritis kicking in, typing all that.
Hey, your authority's ain't no joke.
And then Sam, of course, in case you didn't understand it, Rios, because you're old, in case you didn't get the joke. And then and then Botkins wrote, I'm too big time for this B-rated show, Scott. And of course, Scott replied with, hey guys, go sit in the corner and let me and Dan take care of business. Ouch. That one hurt, Dan. Cowboys and the luxury, yes. Take that, Alan. Yeah, no, we've been happy to have Alan on the show. We had him last week. We always have Mr. First Down here and there whenever we need to pick up, whenever we need to get out of a slump. We're getting Scott on Saturday, so that's going to be fun. And Botkins, what is a Botkins?
Is that some kind of venereal disease?
Still trying to figure. You got the Botkins. No, I'm just kidding. No, we love. Hey guys, I just caught the Botkins. I'm sorry. No, call everybody else. No, Botkins is amazing. I love Botkins. So anytime we get to do a thing with Botkins is always great. So we were talking a little bit right before you came in, Dan, about CJ Stroud and the Texans right now, and it looks like Davis Mills and CJ Stroud are kind of going week to week. They're kind of switching off on with the first team reps every week. So I think this week CJ Stroud has it. And I think next is Davis Mills. You know what? I'm all up for competition. I think competition brings out the best in people. And so honestly, I think this could be a good thing for CJ Stroud because I mean, overall, who are we kidding? That's the future of the organization.
Yeah, that's your week one starter.
That's your week one starter. But I mean, having a little bit of fire under him with Davis Mills, I can't believe I'm saying that. Actually, it's good for him as well. I know we got Case Keenum behind them, but it looks as if Case Keenum is going to be more of a kind of like a coaching role, mentor role than anything. But it's definitely going to be. I'm predicting week one starter CJ Stroud, backup Davis Mills. And that's what I'm thinking. What about you, Rios?
Yeah, he pretty much came because he wants to get into coaching. He came here basically to, more or less get his feet wet. He's basically going to be another coach. He's not really going to see any type of any playing time unless preseason or someone gets hurt. Because I think if CJ goes down, I don't think Davis Mills is going to be the player. I think it's going to be Keenum.
Yeah,
because he actually has experience in the system, and if something happens to Keenum, at least you have Davis Mills there. Because I think with D'Amico, he saw what happened in San Francisco when they only had two quarterbacks, and they both go down, and shit, what do we do?
Yeah, no, exactly. So Dan, as an outsider's perspective, how do you, when you see the Texans or we hear about the Texans, how do you feel about this team, or what do you see on out of your perspective?
In regard to the open competition, a lot of this is optics. They look at how Zach Wilson went, and he was just handed it to him. I think everyone in the building knows who's going to be the winner, but it's maybe not good for locker room dynamics if
Mm-hmm.
someone just comes in and is anointed the starter without beating him out in camp. But I will be shocked if he's not the week one starter, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you. He's your future. So, look, you haven't got necessary playoff aspirations this year, but you've got more chance of being nearer to it with
Yeah,
Stroud, even with growing pains and Davis Mills. We know what he is at this point.
yeah,
We, however, don't know what CJ is, so I
correct.
feel it's a no-brainer, and I'm pretty high on the Texans. Look at your division. There's an opportunity here. I do feel like you could be higher up the division than people think. I'm not saying obviously take it, but I think there's an opportunity to win these games. You, for once, got some young talent to work with, and I think this is the season where you can put a statement out there that we're getting better finally.
Yeah, it's definitely a step towards the right directions. I've said that several times on it. Before we go into a little bit more, you said something really interesting about the Zach Wilson situation, but let me get the comments really quick because they're blowing up right now with the boys.
I see
Yeah.
it, bro.
So first, going back to your Cowboys comment, Alan wrote, "Having the Cowboys fan means the ratings go up." Just saying. Okay. That's funny.
maybe 35 years ago.
Yeah. And Botkins wrote, she's caught the Botkins a few times. Scott wrote, "I kid, I love those guys." Alan then wrote, "We razz each other out of love and respect. Great group of guys all around." And then Sam wrote, "If you get the Botkins one, please seek physical a physician for a shot." Botkins then wrote, "Wasn't McCown supposed to be the coach of the Texans?" That is correct. He was supposed to be, or he not supposed to be. He was in consideration, and that's due to the
he was supposed to be because of Easterby.
Yeah, right. So because of the Easterby situation, but I mean that itself was a whole mess all around. Again, that goes back to Easterby and
honestly, if it wasn't for the Flores lawsuit, we would have Josh McCown as our coach.
Yeah, it's exactly. I agree with that 100%. If it wasn't for the lawsuit, we would have had how do you call it, Josh McCown as a coach, and that would have been the laughing stock of the team. Imagine, like, they gave the Colts so much criticism when Jeff Saturday. Imagine with Josh McCown, who was like a volunteer coach for his son's high school team, like that. Yeah. And then Botkins wrote, "Tell your mom I'm sorry about that, Sam." Which Sam replied with, "You leave her out of this. She's a nice lady and claims to love me, and her fruit salad is the bomb." Scott then wrote, "Hey guys, look for a text from me. I have a question." All right. Thank you. Oh, good Lord. Okay, I'm not doing that one. Well then. So no more Botkins comments.
Well, there goes our G rating.
There goes our G rating. Sorry, Dan. As you can see, the Let's Talk Sport Network is pretty close together.
No problem at all. And trust me, you want a time delay when it comes to Mr. Bodkins.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not sure what sort of delay you want when it comes to Mr. First Down.
I think I need like a 2-minute delay, Dan. If anything, I need a 2-minute delay. Nonetheless, I will say this though about the guys that we have after all that, after all the guys that we have on Let's Talk Sports. Honestly,
man, I needed that.
This wouldn't have happened without Dan though. Like Dan, you're responsible for all this. I know it looks bad at the moment, but you're responsible for getting all of us together.
This is your fault.
This is your fault, Dan. No, you got all of us together. I would have known who Botkins was. I wouldn't have known who Allen was. I wouldn't know who Scott was, and specifically Sam. I wouldn't know who he was. I still don't know who he is, but because of you, like, we have all these guys that wouldn't have known each other. You brought us all together and made us part of the Let's Talk Sports Network. So again, for that, we have you to thank or blame, however you want to see it.
Yeah, thanks for that, guys. And yeah, Mr. First Down's interviewing Kevin Mitchell tonight, ex
Yes.
MLB player. I'm not sure what drug I was on at the time when I came to that decision, but that will be much watched TV. So everyone, be sure to check it out.
The mere fact that you partnered up with somebody who's actually played in the pros, that baffles all of us around. So, Carlos, why do you hate me when I show you nothing but love? You're easily hated. It's just so fun to pick on you. You make yourself a target. No, I'm just kidding. So let's go back to what we're talking about, Dan. With the Jets,
it's fun to do bad things.
Yeah. You brought up an interesting point about Zach Wilson. That he was just kind of given the reins. Some of the criticism that I've seen on Twitter from outsiders' perspective with CJ is that they feel like he might end up going down the same route as Zach Wilson has given the reins. And I think that's when D'Amico kind of came out and said, no, he's earning the competition against Davis Mills. Now, again, Davis Mills ain't really not much to brag about. But
the optics of it goes along with the locker room. Like, hey, he at least earned the job. They didn't just say, hey, you're the starter. No, he earned it.
Yeah. But so that's exactly how you hit the nail on the head on that. Yeah, it's better for him to have earned it than just kind of given the reins. So now I'm not too familiar with how that went down in the Jets. So is that what happened? They just kind of gave Zach Wilson the free reins like that, Dan?
Yeah, they announced him the starter before even mini camp. It was his. He weren't just getting the first reps. Essentially, he was getting the second reps as well. So there was no competition. They didn't even do the whole thing of much like the Texans. No, it's a competition, but everyone knew. It wasn't really. They just publicly stated it, and which I do get. There weren't really any real options, but to a locker room of guys while out there trying to earn their contract, earn their dough. Someone comes in and it was worse than the Wilson situation. Comes from a privileged background, so the optics around him was he got everything handed to him. So it really, as time went on, it was kind of a cancer to the locker room.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see why that
makes sense. That would be. He seemed more interested in Cougars than learning the playbook.
I mean, it's I think it comes down to mentality and look. All jokes aside, I don't care what he does off the field, but the problem is, I do think he did work hard. You saw, he was flying all around the country last year, meeting with his receivers, and it might just be to meet their mamas. I do not know, but I do think he was working hard. But I think the problem is just the mentality. You hear stories about maybe being late to meetings. I think he does want it, but I just don't necessarily think he has the head on him to be a successful franchise guy. And you see this talent isn't enough. Everyone in the NFL is talented. It's what you do with that talent and
it's what's up
in
here.
between the ears.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much going on in the comment section here that I'm not even going to post all that. So that's why Rios was laughing at, because they're going off on the comment section. Now I'm only going to post relevant stuff from now on because they're going all out. It's crazy. Stop reading it, Rio. No, that's a great point, Dan. Seriously, yeah, it is all about the mentality. It's all about how much dedication that you give out to the team, and so I feel like for you guys, Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to provide all that, given his his track record with Green Bay or whatnot. And so, I mean, that's so I think you guys are going to be one of those that's definitely going to be a that's going to be up there in the playoffs or something like that. Do you see them that high, Reels, the Jets?
Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting division because you got the ones that won the last year, Buffalo, and then you have Miami, who's they're right on their heels, and then you have the Jets who upgraded big time with Aaron Rodgers to get Brees Hall back. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be interesting to see how the division plays out because that's one of those. I think that in the AFC North, you might have 3 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. So now another thing that I want to talk about is I know this is way too early to make predictions. Out of the AFC, do you guys see the Chiefs being do you still see the Chiefs being the top competitor like we're going to the Super Bowl again, Dan? Do you see them or do you see another team that might stick out to you besides the Chiefs?
I think they probably are going to Super Bowl, or certainly. Look, you never can tell. Take the Eagles, for instance, last year. I saw them. I like their roster, but I didn't see them being the dynamic team they was. I always thought it would be their division, but their offense didn't just take a step forward, it took a couple steps up. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't know how these teams are going to look. But if you ask me now, I think it'll take something big for the Chiefs not to at least be in the Super Bowl because it's Patrick Mahomes. That's
Oh yeah.
the only good answer I've got.
Right? They're the class of the NFL. Like they're the team you got to beat. They're the team that your teams are strategizing how to beat because again, Mahomes is a cheat code.
Yeah. Allen just wrote Chiefs will remain the top dog until someone knocks them off. Yes, that sounds about right.
My thing is
And
they're the new Patriots. Like
yeah,
they're the team to beat. Like
it's a dynasty. It's becoming a big dynasty with them. And when I was talking to Tanner once, I was
well,
like, "How?"
they got 2. They need one more to be considered a dynasty. I think
Yeah,
you got to
but
have at
those.
least 3.
But do you not see that being a feasible? Like, do you don't see that
Oh
happening?
no, oh
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
They're probably going back to back this year. We're being honest. I don't see anyone in the NFC that could beat them, or the AFC for that matter. Like I said, as long as Mahomes is healthy, nobody's beating them, man.
For once, I agree with both of you. Thanks, Nick.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't see anybody knocking them off anytime soon. Not even honestly, nobody. Not nobody in the AFC. I don't see anybody unless like somebody
No,
just.
if they do lose this year, whoever beats them is winning the Super Bowl because there's
Yeah,
no one in the NFC that's even close besides the Eagles.
yeah. No, exactly. Even though the AFC is stacked, like Nick, like Bakken said, I still don't see anybody coming for the Chiefs. That's a
It,
dynasty within itself. That's the new dynasty
yeah,
of this generation. The new Patriots, like you said. Yeah,
God,
man. I know. I
I
know.
want to be free from this pain.
Exactly right. I'm like, geez, another AFC team that's continuing to dominate the Super Bowl. Didn't think I'd see it again. Anyway,
Well, at this point, it's a little bit easier to swallow. Tom Brady, like you can't have everything in life, sir. And Mahomes, he sounds like Kermit the Frog, so I feel a little better.
especially not his family. No, anyway, so this 5 straight title games is impressive. Andy Reid's done that with 2 franchises. I mean, yeah, I asked Tanner. How much longer do you feel like Andy Reid has left in him with the Chiefs? And he said, well, honestly, he says about 3, 4 more years at the most, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what he said. I may just
Yeah,
be
so
paraphrasing.
no, something like that. He has a few more years left
Yeah, and
because
then
he's happy and they're winning. So
yeah, Scott Cope said, watch Buffalo for the Diggs situation. It could get bad before it gets better.
I see him
True.
forcing his way. I see him forcing his way out.
Do you see
He,
Diggs in that with Buffalo this year, Dan? Do you see Diggs on there on that team?
There's streams of what happened with the Vikings. It's not the same situation, but he forced himself out there. So he strikes me as a guy what once he's done with you, there's no
he's
going
done.
back. You're essentially dead to him. So I could be wrong, but I don't see this fixing. Though if he is moved, they would certainly have to work together because that contract is not movable at all. Looking at it,
Well, from what I've been reading, he wants to play with his brother in Dallas, and like Alice said, Diggs to Dallas. I wouldn't be surprised. They could find a way to create the cap space, but like, who wants to go from Josh Allen to Dak Prescott? It's like going from Ferrari to a Ford Fiesta. Like, come on, who wants to do that?
Says Buffalo can't trade Diggs at all this season. Do you think if they don't trade him out, do you think he sits out for the season?
He strikes at the time that would sit.
Okay.
Until the fines start kicking in, then he'll show up. But then again, he's just basically gonna be like, I'm here so I don't get fined. He's not going to give 100% effort.
Yeah,
I think he's done mentally in Buffalo.
Yeah, Dan, what do you think?
I do agree with that. I think he's done in Buffalo, and I trust me, he's not the guy you want in the locker room if he's out on you. The only thing is, I think he will turn up because both his situations, I think he likes money too much. Whereas when the Lamar situation happened, I thought he would have set out on principle, but I think he probably likes money more than he does principle. That's just my hunch of what we know of him. I could be wrong in that, but if that is the case, from someone that watches Buffalo a lot, obviously Josh Allen is their most important part, but apart from that, the only dynamic player on offense is Diggs. Look at their receiver core without him. So unless they moved him and made something work with D-Hop, they're in trouble to be relevant this year because it's no good having Allen if there's no one to catch the ball.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if D-Hop would like to go to Buffalo. There's nothing to do over there.
No.
Well, he grew up in the South. I don't see him wanting to go somewhere like that cold.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs would be as far as cold he would do because we grew up in the South. We're not built for the cold weather.
We are not. Let's see. Scott wrote, if Diggs is traded at all, it's to the NFC, and the team in the NFC South should go after him. I could see what like this. So the Saints, the Panthers. Do you think the Panthers or the Saints would be one of those teams, or Atlanta or Tampa Bay would be one of those?
I would see maybe the Panthers because they want to give Bryce a true number one. Because he doesn't really have a true number one because they traded DJ Moore. Like, it's basically a bunch of no-name guys right now in Carolina receiver.
Yeah. Okay. So Carolina, Dan, if he got traded to the NFC South, do you think which team do you think would take him?
Yeah, I agree with Rios. I think Carolina, it was obviously they lost a little bit from their receiving core in the deal with the Bears, so that helps, and also their owner doesn't have any patience at all to let it develop naturally. So I think if this opportunity come up, I think he would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I could see that too, going for him to go to Carolina as well. I was thinking of like, well, maybe Tampa, but I realized, oh wait, Tampa doesn't have the money to buy anything right now, so definitely not Tampa. Definitely, I don't see the Saints making a strive. For
one.
Says the Rams just created a 10.4 million in cap space. Watch out for some for them to make a move. I could see D-Hop. What about D-Hop going to the Rams? Would they need him?
Yeah. Well, I think between him and what's his name? Damn it.
He's drunk. Rios is drunk. That's why he can't spit out his words. See, it's affected him. Dan, while Rios thinks about it, do you think it would be a possibility for the how do you call it, for D-Hop to go to the Rams or no?
I can see their interest, but I think he would want the location. But given how people see them, would he want to go there? I think being a true contender is his condition, but would he view them as someone what is a contender anymore? I think he might need some convincing. The only thing what I think might convince him is what could McVay do with him? Would that be enough to convince him just having faith in the play calling?
Yeah. They were Allen and Botkins wrote Cup. That's who you were thinking about, Rios.
Yeah. Like I knew, I was like, his name's Cooper. Like, what's his last name?
Cooper Cup.
Yeah.
And
No, because I think Hopkins are the same type of receiver, basically. You know, a little bit undersized, but they're known for the route running and hands. They're the same type of guy. Like, I don't see it working.
okay, so you don't see it working. Okay.
Well, that
now-
plus your third best team in the division at best.
yeah,
Because you got the Seahawks and the 49ers.
yeah. No, I understand. So Sam
And
wrote.
the Cardinals are tanking.
Oh yeah, the Cardinals are going to be gone. Yeah, he goes back to the Cardinals. No, he's the Cardinals are tanking. So yeah, that's a mess right there. How is the fan base in Houston? Overhyped, nervous? Rios, describe our fan.
Right, I think right now, hopeful. That's a word we haven't been able to use since 2017. Hopeful. There's no Bill O'Brien. There's no Easterby. You got an actual franchise quarterback. You have a legitimate coaching staff. You got a GM that knows what he's doing. It's the trajectory is looking upwards for once in several years. I think some people they're a little like they're kind of pumping the brakes as far as being a little overly optimistic, but for the most part, people like you see people wearing their Texas stuff now. Like before, good luck finding someone wearing a Texan shirt or a Texans hat or anything like that.
There was a lot of sales for jerseys on Facebook Market, so that was
Yeah.
because for cheap too. So I took advantage of some of those. I got some JJ Watt ones, so I was pretty happy about that. Nonetheless, like yeah, I think there's finally a like upward trajectory or whatnot with the Texans. It looks better than it did because at first it was like, oh, the Texans aren't doing so well. Okay, cool. So how are the Astros doing today? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I was like,
basically,
okay,
you know, once your franchise quarterback refuses to play for you, like, what do we do now? And then you draft Davis Mills, like, this is your solution.
yeah, that was not a solution. The thing about it is this. I heard one of the media guys, Rios, you know him, Sarge. He's quite credible here in Houston.
Yeah.
His name is Sarge. He talked about how Davis Mills could be good, but he's just two things: too much in his head, and he's got happy feet. His feet, the way he moves his feet on the pocket is just a dead giveaway. That is
Where
about
the
his
ball's going.
confidence. That
Yeah.
and his confidence too. So he said he could have he could be good, but it just hasn't been shown. And I think yesterday we were talking about I think I made a comment about I posted an article on ESPN CJ versus Mills, and somebody wrote that Davis Mills only had Lovie Smith and David Culley to go. I'm like, I mean, ifs and buts, like those are excuses. Like he's
Exactly.
already had 2 years in the league. I understand that you may have not had the best coach, but I mean, you still need to make when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, dude. Like seriously, you can't,
Yeah.
and it's hard for me to say this because I'm not a pro athlete, but at the end of the day, you're there for
I
that
mean,
reason.
it applies to any aspect of life. Like we're all dealt different cards. It's what you do with those cards that defines who you are. Like either make something of it or you sit there and complain and make excuses.
Yeah. And Dan, I know you brought up you mentioned that Davis Mills wasn't the guy, and of course we agree with you because of what we've seen. But
Also, water is wet.
Yeah, but now let me ask you this though: do you feel like that's a reason enough for Davis Mills, like to basically make Davis Mills? Sorry, do you think that's a reason why Davis Mills isn't successful because of the coaching staff that he had around him, or do you think it's you've had enough time and and you haven't shown really much growth? If anything, last season you showed you basically went downhill even worse than you did the first season.
Regress with better players and a better coach.
Yeah, I think he's shown exactly what he is. He's a guy used to that in the mid rounds. He's just a guy, someone what you may be okay with being your backup guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's okay at a lot of things, but he hasn't got anything exceptional about anything he does. He's essentially, just to compare it to my team, he's Mike White. He's someone what probably good locker room guy from everything I've heard, but he's just not got that difference maker to compare it to. Like, even when you was bad, you looked at Deshaun and he had that special ability. Is there one occasion you thought at Davis Mills and thought, oh yeah, he could win a game on his own? And that's what you sometimes need to be as a
Mhm.
quarterback. You get paid for big bucks, so you can't just be a guy. This isn't your um, first reserve safety. It's the most important position on the field, and sadly, he just don't have it.
He doesn't have the dog in him.
Yep. He has a
It's
chihuahua in him.
it's a puppy. Uh, and then Alan wrote, "You have the Astros. You're fine." You're right. We do.
Still,
Yeah,
we want
it's
more.
still we still want more. Like that's I don't know. Even though like I love our city, but like besides the Astros, the last major championship that we won was the Rockets, right, Rios?
Yeah,
90.
95.
I mean,
94
unless you,
and 94 and 95.
yeah. I mean,
And
we
that
had
was 26 years ago, man.
Rios was 80 back then, and he's back in the 90s. Dang, how do you feel, Rios, being that old?
I look good for my age.
That's true. Again, that's why you're like old Wolverine. Let's see, Mr. First Down. The QB competition is fake, route. It's Stroud over Mills all day. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's optics at this point. It's
well, it's like Dan said right now, right, Dan? It's you have to have that competition in order to for like to not lose the locker room and just kind of be given the free reins, right?
well, they're showing the clips from the
Yeah, I do
NBA.
agree with that because the locker rooms are delicate balance. You had last season with the Jets, you had wide receivers calling out the quarterback at press conferences. You can't have that, so you don't want that to happen. I think you've got a good one in CJ. All the upside in the world, and for once, it seems like you've got a future. So, just don't rush it. Do the right thing. He will be the guy come week one, and I think they're doing the only thing possible. I think they may be learning from past mistakes. So, yeah, we will see.
Yeah, definitely. Alan just wrote, Rios, didn't you just celebrate your 110th birthday?
130th, sir. Get it right.
130th. Yeah. No, yeah, it's a great, but that's the whole point of it. Going back to that, Dan, yeah, based on how how you guys had the experience with Zach Wilson or whatnot, and how important it is to develop a young rookie quarterback, you have to kind of give them as much support as possible if you want that quarterback to be successful.
But you just want them to earn it. Well, they're two different people. Like Zach Wilson grew up entitled. CJ had to struggle. Like I was reading about like how he grew up, and like man, he overcame a lot to get where he's at now. And I think he's one of those people that doesn't take it for granted. And he's gonna be the hardest worker in the room and continue to like he. From the reports I've read, like he talks to the coaches after the game or after practice, like, hey, this coverage confused me. What did you guys do? Because he's always trying to learn. It's what you want for your franchise guy. Like, hey, I made a mistake. I'm not going to dwell on it. How can I get better?
Mm-hmm. Which is what you want out of a rookie or out of somebody that's coming up in the
And
in the range.
this is a rookie too. Like he's thinking like a vet. Like, hey, this coverage confused me. Like, hey, what did you guys do so I can learn to diagnose it, dissect it, and tear it apart.
Yeah. No, exactly. So, Dan, just making sure. Let's go over into baseball a little bit. So you're a Yankees fan, is that correct?
Loosely more fan of the sport, but
Ah,
yeah, the ones most on TV, so they're probably the ones I radiate to a little bit more, but more just a fan of the sport, if I'm honest.
Yeah. How are you liking their chances this year?
What chances would be my
Right?
reply? As I said on last night's show with Johnny and Rob, it's not even if they put a bit of a run together, it's not given that they'll get into the playoffs. And even if they do, you guys know this. How did they look last year? And they're in better shape
Awful.
last
Yeah.
year.
Sweep, sweep,
This
and sweep.
exactly. So, um, in many ways, if they want to enact change, it's probably better for the team that they don't make the playoffs. It shames them a little bit because that's the only way I think ownership makes some changes. So things ain't looking good even before Aaron Judge's injury, and this certainly won't help their chances. Look, Baltimore is putting a better product on the field. Just think about that, Yankees fans, for a minute.
Right?
No offense to
That's
all
very
of
surprising. Like the Orioles have been terrible for a long time, and look at them now. Like
Yeah, the Orioles are a team. They're scary. Like the Orioles themselves, it's crazy how their upward trajectory. Really, how last season they're pretty bad last season, and suddenly this year they're like, whoa, okay,
well,
bye.
last few seasons they've been terrible,
Yeah,
and now they're actually looking like the team to beat in the uh, the AL East.
yeah. Then we have Tampa Bay. How do you see Tampa Bay right now, Dan?
To be honest with you, if your team wants a major market or small market, look at what Tampa does and
Hmm.
do exactly what they do. They may not have the resources everyone else does, but they do a fantastic job. And to be honest, they're probably everyone's second team. Say when you're watching the playoffs, who would you rather do well, them or the Dodgers? I think Tampa is just good for the sport. I think it shows. There's no excuse for say the Reds or someone like that. Why
Hmm.
can't you do what they do? If you don't want to spend money, get the staff what can build you the team the right way.
Exactly, like they just as far as roster, they're probably the most well-rounded in baseball. No, big names or whatnot, but like just everyone there does their job. Like pitching staff, the hitters, like they're going to be a scary team come October.
Yeah. Let's see. Alan Rowe. Tampa is a great team, but it would be sad if they got swept by Oakland today. Dude, by the way, did y'all see what happened with Oakland yesterday
The
with the fans?
the counter protest that was as a fan I love that. Like, hey, you know what? You guys are going to sell our team. We're going to show the numbers and show you guys, hey, it's not because people aren't showing up because you guys have given us a shitty product for years. Like, how do you have the lowest payroll in baseball and expect them to be a winner? Like, it doesn't work that way.
Last year I went to the Coliseum, right? To watch the A's play the Astros. Literally last summer. I think it was like last July. And I mean, what's funny that Alan Rowe, Tampa's a great team, but it would be sad if they got swept by Oakland today. I gotta tell you, that's when the last summer when I went to Oakland to visit
We
my
got
brother.
swept. We got swept by the
We got
A's.
swept. We got swept on that one, and it happens. I mean, there are times. I feel like there are times when these teams, when they're facing teams like the A's or something, they probably like take a little break or whatever, or don't give it their best. If just because they know that that's the team that. Now, of course, you never underestimate a team, no matter what. But still, it's like I don't think they take it as seriously, like they would if Tampa Bay was going off against, like, let's say, the Astros or the Rangers or somebody like that. But it's a possibility, honestly, that they can lose to the A's unless Tampa's just that good. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing about the baseball season, it's relentless. So if someone, it's not like the football season, it still happens in that. It's going to happen just because there's so many games that you can't be your best version of yourself all the time. So just because someone beats you, don't mean it's an indictment. Are they better than you? It's a marathon. So how are you? Do you win 7 or 8 in 10? Then that's what you are, not just because you lose a series or 2.
Right. Alan wrote back, that stat is crazy. The A's have the second worst record yet and have the third longest winning streak of the year. Yeah, it is. It's insane how that works, dude.
Who
Yeah.
had that on their bingo card? Not a solitary soul.
Nobody had that on the bingo card this year. No, exactly.
I think most people had the A's winning, single digit games this year, and they've surprised people.
Yeah.
Look, they got a little fight left before they move to Vegas.
Yeah. I'm seeing, so our Astros are right now. I want to talk about our Astros really quick. So I was at the game yesterday. It was Star Wars night at the Astros game yesterday. I didn't take my helmet. I should have. It was a fun night because we went up against the Nats and we ended up beating them. It was a slow start to the game. It was like 0-0 up until like I can't remember what inning, maybe the third or fourth.
Fourth inning. Dubon hit a
inning,
home run.
Dubon hit a home run, and it just started going from there. Right now, I love my team, of course, but the biggest weakness right now, in my opinion, has been the inconsistency in the offense. You have days where it's the bats. Like you have times when the Astros can score 11, 12, even 13 runs on you, and the next game they go to 0-0. Like it's that's what kind of scares me a little bit in this. Do I think we can go to the divisional? Yeah. Can we win the divisional? Most likely, yeah. Could we make that? Could we go to the ALCS and win the ALCS with this team this year? Last year I'm like, oh yeah, definitely, hell yeah, we got this. This year, this team kind of gives me a little bit of I get a little worried, but time and time again, our team has shown, hey, during the tough times, they come through. So hopefully, this is one of those years. Oh, also,
they're missing a couple pieces. I would say you need another bat and another arm as far as starting pitching, because I think McCullers is done. Like he has another setback. He won't play this season. They probably cut ties at this point because it's June and there's still no possibility of him coming back.
Do you see Cody Bellinger coming over to the Astros from the Cubs?
No,
you don't see him coming over.
I don't see it.
Okay, that was one of the.
He was one of the biggest mouths on the Dodgers, and there's no way that locker room will take that guy.
Agreed. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on about like, hey, Cody Bellinger could be in the trade with the trade rumors. I was like, I don't see him, but they do need another at bat because they need.
But it won't be Bellinger. Like he was the biggest mouth on the Dodgers, and shockingly, when they got caught cheating as well, he got cut. Like, oh,
yeah. Yeah,
well, he went from an MVP candidate to getting shipped off. Like,
yeah. So that. Dan, from your perspective, how do you see our Astros team this season?
As you say, we know what they are. They just need a bit of help. I view them as they need to do a few moves around trade deadline, like the Braves did a couple of years ago. They don't need necessarily star names, but guys that will just help get the momentum back up, have some more depth in positions. You've got the star power, but I just feel you need a few more pieces just to help you be a well-oiled machine come the grind of the playoffs.
No, exactly. Alan wrote, Chris Bryant is a guy to watch come the trade deadline. Could you see that, Rios?
I could.
Okay. What would you give up for Chris?
At this point, like Dan said, we don't need like a superstar name. We need something to solidify. Like as far as say pitching, like you need someone. You don't need an ace. You need basically like a number 3 or number 4 starter at this point, because you got your 2 aces in Javier and Framber, And from there, you want to solidify that your number 3, your number 4 starter. You still have that part of your lineup, and then from there the bats. Someone to fill that middle hole because after the 6th spot in the lineup is it's almost like a black hole sometimes.
I mean, it was like that last season too. He's batting right now. He's batting at 263. He's got 5 home runs in the season, 17 RBI, and he's batting with a 719 OPS.
I think once you get Jordan and Altuve like fully healthy and they're raking from there, like you want to focus on the bottom of the line, especially because if they're gonna keep playing Maldonado, like you gotta have someone, you don't want to have another black hole. Like Myers is, he has good games and bad games, and
it's inconsistent.
Very inconsistent. So you want to get a little consistency after the number 6 spot. You can solidify that. That's the weak spot of our lineup. You solidify, someone in the 7 or 8 spot, and then play Yainer Diaz a little bit more. I think we'll be as dominant we've been the last few years. But again, just a few tweaks here and there, and adding a couple people here and there. Right. You don't have to like retool the whole thing. Just a couple of spots you need to fill in, and we'll be good.
So another thing that I want to talk to before we let Dan go, the boys and I talked about it on Monday. With Poppy was here. Surprise, surprise, he's not here again today. Shocking. We talked about the Messi signing to Miami. Dan, so we felt like that doesn't really, it helps the MLS in revenue. To get people in the stadiums to obviously see Messi play or whatnot. However, overall, do you feel like that helps MLS as far as the quality of it, or do you think it's just money wise?
Mostly money wise, let's be honest. And I personally we've seen it before. Some star players, it doesn't necessarily. It might bring you 1 or 2, but don't bring more players over to play. So I think its biggest benefit, and look, money's money, whereas it'll help. The money's good as long as the governing body uses it for your future, but probably its biggest value is maybe some of the younger generation what might, rather than go and watch a baseball game, go and watch it because they've heard that the legend what is Lionel Messi playing, and if he then decides to take up the sport, I think that's its biggest benefit rather than it necessarily helping today's league. So I think that's its biggest value.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the Beckham signing. It was a big deal back in 2007 because hey, it's David Beckham, most famous player at the time, coming to play in MLS, but it really improved the league as a whole. Like it brought more attention, more revenue, but it did increase the level of play, and it's been pretty consistent as far as level of play since 2007. And we're now in 2023. Like it's
now the
level of play is still the same.
Yeah, MLS is still growing here in the States as far as expansions and all that, but it also, I mean, Rios and I have gone to some of those stadiums, and they're not full. Like you see a game from like England in the Premier League, even in the EPL, like you see those stadiums get packed. Here,
even in the second division,
seats. Right, that's what I'm saying. In the EPL, like you see,
even in the championship division, like there's still full stadiums, and they're in smaller towns and packed every Sunday. And here, it depends who they play. Sometimes it'll be a packed house. Sometimes 50% capacity, or 5 people.
Yeah. Now, Dan, one thing that we talked about. How do you feel like? Obviously, relegation isn't a thing here in the States. And from an outsider's perspective, again, how do you think it would affect do you think the States is ready for relegation or not yet?
It mean a change of mentality. Teams don't really want it, and that's a big thing. Like obviously, there's a lot of American businessmen owns Premier League soccer teams, and they campaign for the relegation to be taken away. So if you're a rich billionaire, you don't want your team relegated and the
Mhm.
funding to go down. But I do feel if the MLS is to go to the next stage, I think they should create a second division. In all sports, I feel there should be some sort of risk involved. So if you're not putting a good product on the field, then I feel there should be some sort of penalty. So I do feel it would be better for the league. I guess it hasn't grown that far because obviously over here there's teams to take their place. But if you're playing in the second tier, what is that team coming up gonna be?
Right. Like we have here, like we have obviously the MLS is the main one, but we have other leagues. Like we have the USL Championship. Like that's another thing that you could use as. I'm just throwing examples here. You could use that as like your second
The second
division.
division, yeah.
Yeah, league. They have other leagues here that play like that have teams in that. Like Miami has like Miami FC, Detroit City FC, Louisville, um, San Antonio FC. Like you have these leagues in the USL Championship that you could use. I mean, if they did some sort of merger or something like that, something where let's say Austin FC from the MLS gets relegated, they go to the USL, and then you bring up, I don't know, San Antonio FC or whatnot, and so um, to me that would be a way of doing relegation. Like you already have those other leagues, so
It's just
why not?
about merging them together, but would they do that? Probably not.
They probably won't, but it's a great way. I agree with Dan 100% that
It
it's if the MLS wants to take that next step, they need to introduce relegation here in the states.
have consequences for having a terrible team out there, which
Hmm.
we should have in all sports, really,
Yeah.
because you would think that the motivation to play a little bit better. Do I want to play in this, $100 million stadium or play in some $20,000 stadium in the middle of nowhere?
Exactly. But yeah, man. All right. Well, it's about that time. We're gonna call it. It has been Dan. It has been awesome having you on our show. On a rare Wednesday morning.
Right?
Again, always a pleasure having you, Dan. And again, I've said it once and I've said it a million times. Thank you again for everything, for obviously bringing all of us together from just different parts of the country, and hey, even overseas, because we Let's Talk Sports has a lot of people that are also in
The
different
UK.
countries, yeah, in the UK. So we really appreciate all that, and obviously for letting us be part of the Let's Talk Sports network.
No, no problem. I've had a great time. My pleasure.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. Don't go just yet, but we are going to end the show. Shout out to all everybody in the comments, Alan, Sam, Mr. First Down, who has a show tonight. Please go check it out. Um, how do you call it? And Nick
Batkins.
Batkins, of course. Nick Batkins show. Scott Kolb, which we will have on It's Live Saturday night on our show. And tonight, we're starting a show live also, which will be I'm gonna try to do as much as I can. It's called Wrestling Wednesdays. It's all about wrestling, WWE, AEW,
Wrestling.
yeah, all that. And I'm gonna have how do you call it? Mitch from the Hardcore Sports Network joining us today as well. So it should be a good one. And a friend from mine that I how do you call it that we grew up together in high school, who's a big wrestling fan. And so that should be fun. Of course, Reels will be part of it too, and it should be a good one. I'm looking forward to this. It's something a little new to the Just Fans podcast, and hopefully something grows from there. But I'm excited to do this. This will be a lot of fun. Again, Dan, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you guys later on tonight. Please follow Dan at Let's Talk Sports at Let Talk Sport. Also follow our partner at Sideline Sport One. Thank you guys for being part of it. Actually, that's our show for this morning. So thanks, guys. We'll see y'all. Don't go anywhere just yet, Dan. We'll see y'all later. Peace.